You're tuned in to the Mind of an Entrepreneur show with your host, myself, Sajda Wendy Muhammad. I am a multi-million dollar business developer. I have developed business and real estate around the world, and I want to share with you my mental strategies, my technical strategies, and how I made it in the world of business. So I don't teach theory. I tell you about my life and introduce you to people who can also share with you what they've done to become successful. This is a practical show. This ain't a theory show. You don't want to miss it. So stay tuned.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. You're tuned in to the Mind of an Entrepreneur show, and I'm your host, Sajda Wendy Muhammad. Welcome to the Mo Today series on Black Muslim businesses. I am so excited today. I'm going to be bringing on a sister. We're going to be talking about entrepreneurship, being multifactorial in business. But sit back and relax. I got a few announcements and a few things I need to tell you all. So we're going to be kicking off I call it my personal Holy Week. It's a 9-day period that exists between my birth anniversary and my spiritual birthday. And during that period, a lot of people have asked me, what do you want for your birthday? What do you want to do? And I said, I want to be further along the road towards the completion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House. So, yep, you can come to Chicago and take me to dinner and we can hang out, but make a donation, buy a coin. That's what I want. Tell a celebrity. I've done the heavy lifting. We're almost there. So celebrate my birthday, Holy Week, my personal Holy Week. I call it my personal Holy Week because it's just a period of reflection and resetting and just re-loving myself, being more grateful, and generally leading up to that time. I'm really in a reflective space, and I'm just kind of relearning myself and restudying myself. And so I just want y'all to go on that journey with me. I'm excited. So I got a new book that's coming out. I'm actually working on a few books. One I have help with, but the other two I'm started on, and so one will be done by December, the other one by next summer. So I've been busy working on that, grinding, and I got a new business, which is preservation consulting. So I'm excited, and this is the spiritual beginning of my year, and so I'm excited to start the year on a new course. And what I want to do is let's get the messengers home finished and start doing some tours and getting a bunch of other stuff together that we know is just absolutely going to be fabulous. So with that, I'm going to show you a few more commercials, and then I'm going to come back with my sister, Samaya Muhammad. She's she's a multifactorial entrepreneur, but I'll just say, go to her website, 24 Karat 19. I'll put that up on the screen. And we're going to talk about her products, her services, and all of that kind of stuff, just so that you all know who we're dealing with. I already told y'all, we got some industry disruptors in our nation. We got some people in our nation who are putting out fabulous products. They're setting trends, and all they need is to be tapped into an ecosystem, and they need us to support. And so we're gonna. That's the whole reason why I do this, because starting out in business, and even now in business, for people to refer to you, for people to buy your book, to buy your products, buy your jewelry, whatever it is that you're selling, to have your people support you. And don't give me that we ain't got no money, because we're not poor by any stretch of the imagination. We are the biggest consumers in the world as Black people. So all we got to do is start directing some of that funding towards our own people. So sit back and relax, and we'll be right back on the other side with our guest, Samaya Muhammad.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who in my judgment is the master historian, taught us that of all our studies, history is the most attractive, and it is best qualified to reward the researcher. History is most attractive. Why should history be most attractive? Because history is the recorded time of the human family in its struggle to overcome obstacles. There is no life that is without struggle. The Holy Quran teaches us that man, meaning man and woman, is made to face difficulties. And after difficulty comes ease. But it is history that guides us through difficulty. For if you know how people who had difficulty yesterday got through, and if your difficulty is somewhat similar, then today we also can get through if we follow the guidance of history. This is why Carter G. Woodson and many of our Black giants fought for Black people to know our history. Because in not knowing our history, we don't have a guide. And without a guide, we are lost. No wonder the Bible...
Greetings, conscious entrepreneurs. Add the Mind of an Entrepreneur show to your Roku TV lineup and catch up on past episodes of all your favorite Mo Today shows. We're back, and you're tuned in to the Mind of an Entrepreneur show, and I am your host, Sajda Wendy Muhammad. I hope y'all doing okay. We're going to get started. We're going to jump right in with our conversation with Sister Samaya Muhammad. I'm going to bring her in. Let me get her website before we do that, because I really want you all to make sure that you lock down her website, that you see it, you check it out, and listen, I guarantee you, you're going to want to buy something. So let's see here. Assalamu alaikum.
Well, Walaikum salam.
How are you, beautiful?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me. This is
Absolutely.
an honor.
No, it's an honor to be able to be of service in this manner. And I'm grateful that you all allow me to serve you because, my goal is to just see us build our Muslim economy and to be prosperous. I think a lot of us, sis, when we think about separation and the messenger separating, I've had people say this to me. They're like, yeah, but are we going to be like the Amish community, or what are we going to be like? And I said, well, why would you think about that? What about Dubai?
Yes, ma'am.
Be that. We can be all of that. So it's an honor to be of service. So tell us about your journey as an entrepreneur. How did you get started?
Oh, wow. Well, my business, as we talked about earlier, is multifaceted.
Mhm.
And one of the first businesses that I started, I did juice. And I don't do juice anymore, only because of some of the California laws about selling juice.
Right.
But when I started my business juicing, it was like, like green juice, red juice, just stuff that was very healthy and helped me. Once I started that business, it propelled me into one of the businesses that I still currently have, which is selling body butter. I did for a little while, I made other things like soap and
Mhm.
other skincare products, but primarily I still make the body butter. I have like a specific base of customers who still buy it, and I could not stop making body butter if I wanted to because they
Right.
wouldn't let me.
Yeah,
So
they're not gonna allow you, because once you get hooked into it, and then people get connected to you. I was
yes,
coaching
ma'am.
someone today, and I was telling them that with all of these brands, there's a lot of competition out there. But when people get to know you and they have confidence in what you put in the product, and they have confidence with what you represent, they will buy from you.
Absolutely. And that's really, really important. And I think that even with my skincare business, it having that customer base and the trust and them knowing who I was, it helped me when I also started my jewelry business. And that was a little bit different. So my jewelry business started when I love gold. I love gold jewelry. I always have. And I wanted this very specific piece. It was my name, Samaya, in Arabic. And I
Forgive
went to the
I
swap
keep
meet.
saying Samaya because I know something Samaya, but Samaya, yes.
Yes, ma'am. It's okay. It's okay. And so I went to the swap meet, and I went to like 2 or 3 different places, and either it was one of two things. They told me that they couldn't do it, or they gave me this crazy price. And sometimes we have these experiences with different people, and it just leaves you feeling like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and do this myself. So I did some research, and I live in the Los Angeles area, so we have the hub of everything jewelry. We have a jewelry district here. So I did a little bit of research, and one thing led to another. And I realized that I had essentially figured out how to maneuver in the jewelry business. And that's what started me. And the very first piece that I made was the Vanguard pendant that I have on my website.
Mm-hmm.
And it
I
just
love that. When I went on there, I was like, I'm getting this. That's how I was. That's how I was when I went on there. So
Yes,
let's go
ma'am.
back to the juicing. How did you get the entrepreneurial bug? Because most people, if they want something, they just go, "Oh, I just go buy it." They don't say, "I'll make it myself."
That came from Vanguard fundraising. Yes, ma'am. That's where that came from. And once I started to do the juicing, you know when the mosque gets a good thing, they're
Mhm.
like, don't stop.
No, we don't
Nobody
let.
would allow me to stop. They're like, every Sunday this needs to be here.
Mhm.
So I believe like I started making it for Vanguard fundraising, and then that fundraiser ended and they still wanted it. And then periodically we would just still do the fundraiser again. So
I want to go deeper into that because there's so much that I got out of being a Vanguard that has helped me to this day. So I want to know, what is it about being a member of the MGT and GCC Vanguard that not only makes you stand apart from the crowd, but makes you know that when you get that feeling inside of you, it's not about just saying, oh, well, it's about, let me take charge and do it myself.
Absolutely. There are so many aspects about being a MGT and about being a Vanguard that do exactly that. But I can honestly say that when we're told to do for self, and then we go out into the world and we figure out that if we don't do for self, there's consequences. I think that that is one of the major things that I've really just that have resonated with me because, when it is, it starts with the businesses, but then when you move on from that and you actually go into our class, into our 7 units and just into everything like how to eat to live, for example, if you don't make bread on your own, what are you eating? Hair,
Mhm.
hair, soy,
Mhm.
just what are those other chemicals that they put in there? L-cysteine. There's all these chemicals, that are leading you to death if
Mhm.
you don't do it for yourself. And so we're taught we have to implement that. And if we do implement that, it just leaves us with so many opportunities and tools to propel them into getting to know ourselves and
Mhm.
to make successful businesses.
It's kind
So
of like, once you know better, you do better, right?
absolutely.
And I know for me, growing up, I was kind of trained to be a corporate person. So go to school, get good grades, keep your desk in order,
Yes,
check all
ma'am.
the boxes, and then you go right into a company and you do the same thing and you make a good little employee. So I remember, um, I just remember how you couldn't tell us nothing when we learned how to make bean soup,
Oh, yes, ma'am.
bake bread, um, just all of those things. For me, it was so empowering, and from there, and everybody kind of moved off and branched off into their own things, right? Like
Yes,
for
ma'am.
me, I was an instructor. I like to cook and I like to business. And really to this day, it's these things that I do. I'm actually working on a cookbook, but I learned how to cook at home growing up, but I really learned how to look at my ingredients and make sure it's a bunch of stuff, not a bunch of stuff in there that I can't pronounce. And I don't bake, but we was baking and carrot pies, and it
Yes,
was
ma'am.
it was powerful. And juicing, it's funny you said that because juicing was my thing.
Yes.
I was always the one with the carrot juice and the apple juice.
Yes, ma'am. And there's so many possibilities. You just get in there with once I had the juicer and I started doing everything, it was just, oh, that was it
Mm-hmm.
every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
that's
yes, ma'am.
so. Let's talk about this. You mentioned having, once you had the juice business, I'm sure you still juice and you could technically still have it. Then you have the jewelry business, you
Mhm.
have your body butters and your soaps and things like that. Um, a lot of people get confused by us because I think what happens is, coming through our classes and being under the tutelage of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, it opens up so much of what Allah has deposited in us,
Absolutely.
as opposed to oftentimes when you go into corporate, you're told to pick one thing and stay in that lane and ride that lane, like whatever you major in. It's almost like a sin if you graduate from college and you're not working in that field. But we understand that we are very diverse and very multifactorial. um, how difficult has it been navigating among people who don't understand that, when they see that you may have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, or more things that you do?
Yes, ma'am. That is the story of my life because like you said, you mentioned earlier, I was very much the student. I went to school, got good grades. I graduated. I have my bachelor's. I'm working on my master's right now, actually. Um, and I got a job and I worked in corporate America for 13 years. Yes, I worked in biomedicine and in the healthcare industry for 13 years.
Mhm.
So that is, that's the expectation that they put on us. They think that so I was in a conversation a couple days ago, and someone made the comment, Black women are not a monolith.
Mhm.
And the context they were saying it, and I didn't necessarily agree with, but it is true that Black women are not a monolith. We do not all have one story. We are multifaceted, and we have so many talents within us that we, throughout our life, we should explore them. We should see what we're good at. And essentially, when we get jobs, in corporate America, it's really to pay the bills. And by the grace of Allah, being in the nation and being in my classes, I had the opportunity to be married. And at this point in my life, I don't have to necessarily work in corporate America. So I'm blessed to be able to explore some of those other things that I'm good at, like making jewelry and the body butter and things like that, and completely different stuff. So to people who are really focused on not understanding women that have these different avenues, I say that Allah is our author. Like, Allah is the author of our lives. He deposited these skills into us for a reason, and it's up to us to hone in on them and and turn them into something that is a blessing for the nation, a blessing for our family, and our blessing for ourselves, a
Mhm.
blessing to the world. So
Mhm.
it's our duty, it's our duty to explore these things that we're good at.
I agree 100%. And
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a walking witness that they will reward you
Yes, ma'am.
beyond your imagination, beyond your intellectual comprehension. The rewards and the people you meet will be huge when you
Yes.
just walk into your authenticity. Because what he gave you, it's yours and it's yours to share. And so when you start going out there and you sharing it, sky's the limits.
Yes, ma'am.
Really, really the limit. I want to talk about your body butters and stuff because so many people make these body butters. But when I looked at yours, they look very special. And I said, I picked up immediately. You didn't even have to tell me about the biomedical thing, but they looked very healthy, very clean, and they looked like they were on a very high end professional level.
Yes,
That just struck me right away as soon as I went to your website. Um, Tell me what makes them different and why I should order them.
Um, I would say the thing that makes them different is I am very, very particular about the ingredients. I know that there's a lot of body butter out there, but with mine, there's not a lot of ingredients in them. They're very simple, they're very straightforward. And I know that sounds odd, but I make them with love.
No, it's
I make them
real.
with love and
You can see
care.
that the way it's just whipped up on the website.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, it's a lot of love and care that I put into my business and everything that I make. So I think that that is the main thing that stands out when you see them.
Mhm.
So, and they smell amazing.
Tell us about the fragrances, the qualities of them.
Yes, ma'am. So one of the biggest sellers that I have is the mango butter. I have mango. I have lemongrass and lavender. That's one of my favorites. I actually had a vendor who worked at, well, it was a, I'm sorry, it was a
Mhm.
chiropractor and a massage therapist, and that was one of their favorites because it just smells like you're at the spa. The
Mhm.
lemongrass and lavender is amazing. Peppermint, that's a good one for the summertime. And
Mhm.
then there's some other fragrances that I also created. They're like blends of different things. Like there was one, um, it was it smelled a little bit like Egyptian musk, but there's some for men, there's some for women, there's a lot. So
That's amazing. And so what else do you have? You have the butters and you have some soaps on there too, right?
I do have the butters, the soaps. I have one soap that I still make, but the rest of them right now I'm in the process of moving, a lot of transition, well, moving in,
Mhm.
transitioning. So I haven't been making butter. I'm sorry, I haven't been making soap right now. So those are not available. But the one soap that is a face soap. It has sulfur in it. It's bentonite clay, sea moss, and it's really, really good. I've used it for years, and a lot of sisters that use it, they swear by it. But that's what's available right now. I believe that soap and the body butters are available.
So you make all of this yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't have no help?
No. I do sometimes have help, like my siblings will come over, but for the most part, I make the time to do it myself. Yes,
And
ma'am.
then how did you get into jewelry? Is it just because you love jewelry and you said, I think I want to make it? Or like you said, you wanted that pendant. You said they don't have it. So I'm going to just start making all my own stuff.
Honestly, that's exactly what happened. It was that experience at the swap meet that just really pushed me to want to do it myself. So it was
the way they treated you, or tell me about
yes.
that emotional experience.
It honestly, it was the way that they treated me. It was the way that they treated me, and it was a piece that I already had, and I think the lock broke on it, and I lost it. So I really wanted to get another one. And so when I went to the first place, he's like, "Oh no, we can't do that. Look at the twists and the turns." I'm like, just because you don't know how doesn't mean it can't be done. Okay. So then I go to the next person. And so it was a nameplate. They told me they were going to charge me $700 to make a nameplate. So if anyone that knows anything about jewelry, if you buy it or go to the swap meet, that is ridiculous. So it was, it really just left a bad taste in my mouth, because unfortunately what happens is with Black people, a lot of times, especially in the jewelry business, is that we go to these places to buy jewelry and they look at us like we're the consumer. It's almost like we have slave or just
or whatever.
Yeah, tell me anything tattooed on our head. So they charge us the most. They don't respect us. They don't necessarily treat us right. And then sometimes when they are treating us right, it's because they know that we have money and that's what they want from us. So it's not necessarily a good experience anytime. So it really just got me to thinking, like, I can do this myself. And then as I learned more about the jewelry industry and saw how much of it was available to me if I just went and had these conversations with people. And my husband is a really big supporter of the things that I want to do. So he, also helped me and went along with me, because in the jewelry industry, no one that I work with is Black. Nobody is Black. Right. Everyone is an Arab, or they're Latino, or they're Armenian. Yep. There's some Muslims, but and none of them are women. So it's all men. And so you have to be able to be comfortable having these different conversations with people. And so once I did that and I figured out that I could actually do it, it just took a life of its own. And from making that one pendant, that the Vanguard pendant, I made a couple other pieces of the Messenger. I made one of Master Farad Muhammad, and then I do a lot of custom work. Mm-hmm. So someone will come to me and they'll say, this is what I want. And it'll be a picture, and I can turn that into a chain or a bracelet or different things like that.
You had tell us about the imprint bands, and I'll tell you why that's important to me.
The imprint bands?
It's
the ring?
The ring. It's
yes,
a band,
ma'am.
right?
Of the fez.
Of the fez. Of the
yes, ma'am. So that was actually one of my favorite pieces that I made. And it was a lot of, we get married and we have these wedding bands, but they don't really mean anything unless you get something engraved. But I think that a lot of us that really love the teachings, and love the messenger and the minister, and we live by it, we want that to be close to us in a marriage. And so that was one of the thoughts that I had when I made that particular wedding band or that ring.
It's beautiful, because on our Cracked Adams statue that's going to be on the lawn of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House, I designed a briefcase. And on the briefcase, the top of it has the imprint of the messenger's fez, just like your ring, and the
Yes.
bottom has the imprint of the minister's fez. And in between, it says the mind of an entrepreneur. And why is that? Because as we move forward as business people, we want to carry, kind of like in our proverbial briefcase, that supreme wisdom, that knowledge that they've given to us. And we really are truly the vanguards of learning to infuse this into the work that we do, like the love you put in your shea butters and the creativity in your jewelry. And that's applying the supreme wisdom. And as you build your business and build your systems and your processes and your human resources, I pull from the study guides in terms of how I handle things from a human resources standpoint, even. So that's why that when I saw that, I was like, I got some ideas. I got to call her because some things I think we can do with that imprint.
That is beautiful. And it's so important. And also the representation of us, like we have our own culture, you know, and we don't, when we go to the swap meet or any place like that, we don't see ourselves represented, you know. And so I just thought that it was so important to have something where, you know, you can wear a chain and it means something to you, or you can wear a bracelet or a ring and it has that, you know, what's close to your heart. So that's why it's so important. And I love what you said about using the study, pulling from the study guides and putting that into our businesses, because I think with all of the pieces that I have that are online, they're not just anything. There's stuff that are that's, you know, near and dear to a person that's, to me, and to a person that's Muslim. And they mean so much. Yes, ma'am.
So, you know, culture, sis, and I'm actually putting some of this in my new book. A lot of people don't understand how culture is a big part of the science of business.
Yes, ma'am.
Since we don't have knowledge of self, since we don't love ourselves, since we don't accept our own, and we don't want to be ourselves, we don't understand the importance of our culture, not even as Black people in general. So you have culture vultures and people who come and steal our culture and they monetize it and they infuse it into their business practices. You know, you got marketing companies now that used to talk about creating like a theme, and they would use language like theme, mission. Now they call it a hook, just like the rappers. They're writing book. There's a book out called The Hook That Does It or something like that. But they literally construct these campaigns the same way that rappers construct a song.
Wow.
With the hook and the verses, and the verses in the campaign are just the different avenues and the different aspects and elements of the campaign. So we don't accept or love our culture, but even going deeper than that, into our Nation of Islam culture and learning how to infuse that and monetize it and tell our story is a lot of what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House is about, so that you can experience the culture that they taught us to have, the healthy living and being civilized and handling things, proper handling of people and loving ourselves. And so when you just said that, our culture and seeing ourselves in places, well, we got to put ourselves there.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. That is so important. And I really want to see us in more places like that. I know at the beginning of the conversation, we talked about, well, we don't want to be like the Amish, you know, we're just going to go somewhere and live by ourselves, but it might not be such a bad thing.
No.
The way it's going, it might not be such a terrible thing. But
well, what did the messenger say? We're gonna want to be as far away from them as land allow. And
yes,
when I made that statement, let me clarify that. What I mean is that, and this is no offense against the Amish community, because they do so many things beautifully and great, but that scares a lot of us when we think about living in that manner. And I said, well, there's that aspect of it, that natural aspect, that earthy aspect, that farming and organic or halal aspect. But then there's the technology aspect and being the leaders in other industries like the Dubai.
Yes.
So it's really both. It's like kind of infusing both of those templates or those examples and really taking it to that next level. But we got to embrace our culture to do it. We
Absolutely.
can't separate as dark-skinned white people.
Yes, ma'am. We are absolutely capable. And to that regard, I think it wouldn't be awful if we were just immersed in our own culture.
Right.
And that's why, again, with the Sajda House, like you just explained, that is such a blessing, because that's what we need. That's
Mhm.
part of what we need, is a more of appreciation for our culture.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
immersing ourselves in the word, in the
Yes, ma'am.
culture, and just and to be honest with you, you just fall in love with it.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Absolutely.
and I know you probably can imagine when you first start your business, you're in love with what you've learned. But as you start to use it and apply it and it's working and you're aligning with the creator and you're getting more and more, creative and learning more, you start to just fall in love over and over and over and over again with our culture, with the word. It's amazing.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. It is a beautiful process from start to finish, and I wouldn't change a thing. There's so many things that I've learned just from starting the business that I have that I won't be able to get away from it. I'll always appreciate these lessons in my life, just from having started this business. So
I see it. Thank you for being with us today. I got your website up here. Is there anything you want to add or anything you want to talk about or say before we jump off?
No, to anyone who would like to make a purchase, I am here. I'm available. I am a jeweler for the Nation of Islam, and I'm happy to do it. I One thing I wanted to, express is that a lot of times with our brothers and sisters that we go to, they will charge us a lot, and I like to try and be as competitive as I can. So always remember, you can reach out to 24 Karat, or you can find me on Instagram.
We got our own jeweler, y'all. I don't know if that hit you, the impact of that. And don't be afraid of charging what you're worth.
Yes, ma'am.
If we go somewhere else and pay, then we can pay our sister.
Yes,
As
ma'am.
long as you're not predatorial or taking advantage of people, you got to charge what you're worth.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
So thank you for joining us today. Please give your family the greetings from me. And I really, really appreciate you allowing me to share you with our community.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It was very nice talking with you.
Thank you, sis. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Give my family in LA the greetings.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, we got our own jeweler, y'all. I told y'all we have all kinds of industry disruptors and emerging new market leaders in our nation and in our community. So don't forget, this is my own personal Holy Week. I call it my spiritual week. It's from August 30th to September 9th. And that's when I want you all to go all out for me. If you're saying, look, I can't afford a coin or I can't afford a sponsorship, it's okay. Just tell somebody else who can. And those of you who are in the big cities and you rubbing shoulders with the people who making 7 figures or so a year, talk to them about owning and monetizing our history and becoming a part of this movement. All right. So peace and blessings, family. We'll see you all Saturday for the Sajda Saturday morning coffee talks. And I'm thinking we're going to talk about the Queen of Sheba. Y'all ready? All right. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to show you all a couple of commercials. I got a new one I want y'all to check out. All right. We'll see you soon. Peace and blessings.
Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that history develops the springs and motives of human action, which display themselves most powerfully in the destiny of man. History actually motivates and stimulates human action. Sometimes you may not know what to expect from yourself, but if you only could read the autobiography of someone from among your people who has achieved, then that tells you what is possible to do. Black people in America have labored without understanding the realm of possibility for black people. And because we don't know what is possible for us as a people to achieve, we labor under the misconception that the accomplishments of Caucasian people should be our guide. And as a result, we keep on trying to be like them rather than trying to be ourselves. This is a result of being robbed of history.